Well, Harvey Fierstein, who's a very famous American playwright and actor, he said that being silent in the face of evil is something that we can't do. And so, being here on a Kremlin-funded propaganda network, I'm going to wear my gay pride suspenders and I'm going to speak out against the horrific anti-gay legislation that Vladimir Putin has signed into law.
I just thought that was kind of the most amazing couple of minutes on television that I've seen in a long, long time.
James Kirchick will be my guest right here tomorrow night, and he most definitely will get the last word.
There are real Democrats and oppositionists in Russia, like Alexei Navalny, who you showed earlier. Those people tend to be beaten up and thrown in jail. And that's why the Ukrainian Revolution, which was a pro-Western liberal revolution that wanted to move the country more to the West, that's why he saw it as such a threat, is because if Russians can look at their Ukrainian brothers and see a working democratic country, it might threaten his own rule. We're seeing a dismembered Europe. I love France. I think it's a wonderful country, but this is absolutely shameful. And this should not be going through. You're selling weapons to a government that is waging war on a European country.
Latest exhibit in Germany, a Jewish man or woman sit inside a glass box and answer visitors' questions. I found out that a friend of mine, Jamie Kirchick, actually was one of the participating Jews.
I actually sat in that box and I experienced it. And I also saw it as sort of a meta commentary on what it's like to be Jewish. It wasn't just a practical way for a random German person to meet a random Jew. It was a sort of a very clever, arch and ironic take on being a Jew in Germany. These organizations are constitutionally committed to the murder of Jewish people around the world. Ultimately, this is going to be a battle that Muslims are going to have to wage against their own. I don't think wars end because you say they end. He was lying, and we know that because his lips were moving. In Washington, London, and Brussels, lobbyists are raking in tens of millions of dollars every year working for powerful dictators, while the lonely opponents of those regimes, many of whom are sitting right here in this room, have only their courage as a weapon. President Obama was overheard promising Mr. Medvedev that he could be more flexible following his re-election. Was this something that you felt betrayed Russian civil society?
Well, probably betrayal is a strong word, because I didn't expect much from Obama or from any American administration.
It's not about trusting anyone. It's about ensuring that Iran complies with signature.
James Kirchick?
Yeah, the people at the IAEA would really beg to differ with the last commentator's description of the access that they've had to the nuclear facilities. I mean, for the past 10 years, the Iranians have been deceiving the world repeatedly.
The mayor of Sochi recently said that there are no gays in his city. What does he mean?
I think he was trying to do his best impersonation of former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. It's sad, it's unfortunate that this international event that is meant to celebrate sportsmanship and comradeship and people coming together and putting aside politics to compete in a friendly way, that seems to all be forgotten.
Homosexuality is illegal in nearly 80 countries, and that includes 35 of them in Africa. James Kirchick, who wrote this article, The Curious Case of Countries Where Being Gay is a Crime.
Not just a violation of gay people's rights, it's a violation of everyone's rights and basic freedom of association.
At the time, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called out for the rights of gay people to be respected, but she did not outline sanctions for countries that failed to reform. Is it likely that we will see that next, particularly with some of these roundups and these brutal crackdowns that we're seeing?
Well, there's a bill that applies to Russia right now called the Magnitsky Act, and that puts visa freezes and asset freezes on Russian officials, ban this law globally to make it so that any human rights abuser around the world, political leaders, private citizens, will face sanctions, and they'll have visas to America withdrawn, and they can have any assets that they have in American banks frozen. And so I think that this is one opportunity where we can see some action.
Well, your reporting is great on this. James, thank you very much, and people should go on the Daily Beast and check out your article.
Well, now the New Republic is set to publish a piece on Friday that questions whether Ron Paul is really the man he seems to be. The piece cites offensive passages from newsletters published under Ron Paul's name going as far back to the 1970s. Well, joining me now is the author of this new piece, the New Republic's Jamie Kirchick. Jamie, thanks for coming on.
Tucker, thanks for having me. 20 years of a newsletter that is filled with racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic invective, and it's called the Ron Paul Political Report. I asked Ron Paul's spokesman about this, Jesse Benton. He said that he had actually written parts of the newsletter, and then he changed his story somewhat after I read him, for example, passages where Ron Paul called Martin Luther King a gay pedophile.
There has been quite a bit of controversy over this newsletter.
that went out under your name.
These things are pretty incendiary. You know,
Because of people like you.
No. Come on. Some of the stuff was very incendiary. And, you know, saying that in 1993 the Israelis were responsible for the bombing of the World Trade Center, that kind of stuff. So,
Goodbye.
all right.